Hey, what's up guys, it's MugenLord here, and as I promised to all of you, I was going to give you my first impression of the first Descendant open beta, which happened last week, and it just officially ended today. And most of you guys have been asking the question whether or not if you should invest in this game or if the game is any good. So before I even dive into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive right into it. Now, many of you guys who's been following me recently here on this channel already know that I've been quite interested in this title, like since it was announced back in, I believe, was it 2021, and ever since that it just disappeared. But the thing that really drew me in was just the visual aesthetics of the game. It looks very, very pleasing on the eye, and that was the thing that really drew me in. And that's all it takes for a video game. If it looks pleasing and aesthetic on the eyes, it at least grabs my attention, and then it allows me to say, hey, should I give the game a try? You know, and since the game is free to play, why not? I lose nothing by installing it, and if I don't like it, I just uninstall it. Well, anyway, when it comes to the first Descendant, I decided the platform of choice to try the game on was the Xbox Series X. And when it comes to shooters, I just love the Xbox controller when it comes to shooters. Now, I want to make a quick disclaimer. When it comes to looter shooters, I don't really have that experience with it because it's the type of genre that I normally don't play. So when it comes to taste and what I want from a looter shooter, it won't be like everybody else. It would vary compared to many of the other players who actually invest time and eat and sleep looter shooters and know exactly what they want from a looter shooter game. So what I explained to you guys here may be completely different from your experience if you played the open beta, or from what others have been saying in their videos and the content they've been pushing out. So I just want to let you guys know that up front. So as far as the first Descendant is concerned, I guess we can start off with how the game looked. The game, as I said before, looks visually appealing, and not only that, on the Xbox Series X, it still really looks good, even though the PC version is actually the best option to go with. But it is quite demanding from what I heard from some people when it comes to the first Descendant. So you're going to need some pretty good specs in order to get the quality that you want and just actually see what this game has to offer in the visuals departments. I will say that. But the game runs really, really good on the Xbox Series X. The lighting effects, the locations, and everything looks really good on the Xbox Series X. Now, as I said before, man, the character designs, I don't know what it is, especially when it comes to these Eastern studios, especially the Korean studios, man. They really know how to design the hell out of characters, man. Like when you go to the Descendant character select list, man, all the characters looks badass. The dudes look badass. The female characters look badass and sexy. They pretty much know how to tap into that audience, the fan service, and what gamers want from their games when it comes to their characters, and that draws you in and wants you to play as these characters and invest time with them, since you're going to be playing with these characters for hours. So as I was saying before, when it comes to how the game looks, top notch. Now, as far as the gameplay, this game took no time to throw you into the game. Once you start the game up, you get an opening cutscene to pretty much give you a synopsis of what's going on with the opening, with the story, and where the protagonists are at right now. And it opens up with a quick mission briefing, and then it transitions over to 3 characters that you can select from. Now each character has their own, or Descendants have their own special abilities and properties, and what they're pretty much what they're good at and what they're proficient in. So the 3 characters is Viessa, Ajax, and then of course Lepic. Now when it comes to Ajax is more of, I guess you say, the brute force or the tank. So if you're a person that loves to tank, especially when you're in a party, when it comes to looter shooters, or just, I guess you would say, role-playing games in general, if you're a person that loves to be a tank and to protect your party, and you know, have the beefy shields and everything like that, then Ajax will be your character. And then you have Lepic. Lepic is your, I guess you would say, your one-in-the-mill, I guess you say, all-around character. He's your Call of Duty character. You know, he have machine guns, he throw grenades, and everything like that. You know, he's the master at none, but I guess you would say he's the beginner character if you want to hop into it and just to get a gist of everything. And then of course you have Viessa, and I had to choose her, the ice waifu. Now the thing about her, the reason why is not just her design, but I'm not a looter shooter guy, and the fact is that I'm gonna need all the help that I can possibly get. And when I seen her abilities, that she can pretty much essentially freeze enemies, freeze the air, freeze her surroundings and everything, that was pretty much the perfect assist, or the perfect handicap for me as a person who's pretty much not really that good at these looter shooters. So I pretty much essentially went with her. Now you have to keep in mind, once you pick this character, you pretty much stuck with this character until you pretty much fulfill the requirements that allow you to unlock the other Descendants, just to let you know about that. So pretty much the opening mission is to pretty much essentially get you together to allow you to understand how the gameplay mechanics work, how to navigate the map, and how to use your grapple hook, and also to give you some, I guess you say, some opening dialogue with the storyline to let you know where the protagonist is currently at within the story itself. But then once the story, and once you finish the opening mission, you pretty much sent to Albion. Albion is pretty much the hub world, and this is where most of your interaction is going to be with other players. In this hub world, you'll see other players walking around with their own versions of the selected Descendants that's available, and you'll be able to pretty much explore the hub world, where you're able to pretty much shop and upgrade items, weapons, do a ton of research. And here is also where you're able to pretty much essentially buy, or I guess you could say craft, the other Descendants to unlock these other Descendants to be playable, and I'll definitely get into that in a minute. So how does the mission structure and everything work in this game? Alright, so to me, I find it quite simple, and it's quite simple to understand. So what happens is, after you go to the hub world, you receive your story missions, or you receive your quests, and what happens is you have to teleport onto the world map. Now, the first place you go to, the first area, is called Kingston. Kingston's the first area that you teleport to. Now, what happens is, how this game works and how you progress through the missions, or through the story, or how you can progress your character, is once you enter this zone, which is Kingston, you start off at a campsite. From the campsite, you get your mission from whoever is in charge of the campsite. Now the goal is, there are pretty much mission nodes in each location, or that region that you're in. Now the goal is to complete those missions with those mission nodes within that area. Once you complete all the missions within that area, it unlocks the other region within that zone, and then you complete those missions from there, and then you beat that and you complete those missions in the next zone, until finally, once you complete everything, you go back to the main story, where you maybe have to fight a boss or anything of the sort in order for you to pretty much progress and move on to the next area. Now, how are the missions? Well, it's a looter shooter. The missions are quite simple at first. You go to the nodes. The nodes are pretty much essentially show you what the rewards are when you complete it. It lets you know what the mission objectives are, and then once you click on the nodes, that's when you get a briefing, and you go to the area that's required of you to actually begin the mission. And once that happens, essentially different teleporters and pods will show up, and enemies come flying out. And some missions you have to pretty much protect a certain generator, or disarm a bomb, or take a bomb and then put it into one of the generators. There's different variations of different missions that you have to complete, but they start off very simple, and then as you start progressing, it gets a little intense. They start throwing in more and more enemies at you, start getting flooded with enemies, and this is where you would have to, or I guess you would say, want to have a party join you, so you can be able to take out so many of these enemies. Because my god, I was getting destroyed at one point, because I was live streaming it with you guys, and you guys were like really seeing how focused I was, because man, the missions can get ridiculous as far as them just sending so many enemies after you. And there's a variety of different enemy types that behave much differently than others, and then you have this one of them that's a tracker, which I couldn't stand because it had the same ice ability as Viessa. where they can shoot ice at you, freeze you, and then they can just, all the enemies would just swarm you and clobber you at one time. And this is why I decided, and I thought it was the perfect choice to go with VSS, was because when I did get into those moments where I was surrounded by the enemies, I can use one of her special abilities where any enemy that come in contact with her, she freezes the ground around her, and those enemies in the area will freeze, which it gives me enough time to actually escape, get into enough range in order for me to actually use fire to be able to take them down. So I really enjoyed her ability. I'm really glad that I stuck with her all the way through, and I made it all the way up to level 23 with her character. Now, the thing about looter shooters as well, and especially free to plays in general, the thing that really turns me off, or the thing that really, I guess you would say, really turns me away from them, is because a lot of these free-to-play games hit you with so many different menus, so many different currencies, and so many other things, mechanics that they just keep slapping on top of you. And then after a while, I kind of get lost in it, and I'm like, okay, this is getting too much for me, and then I just walk away from it. And I would say this, the menu system or the mechanics is too cumbersome, but it was something I was actually able to actually grasp. Because when you open up the menu system, of course, when you win missions, you get a crap ton of different weapons, and each weapon has its own levels, its own stats, its own special abilities, its rarities. And the thing that I love is that they do have a comparison feature where I'm able to compare my current weapon to the weapon that I have. You have 3 weapon slots that you can equip 3 different weapons, but then the third weapon is like your special weapon. Like for instance, on Viesa, I have like this pump shotgun, and it has really little bit of low ammo, so you really have to be wise of how you use it, and getting those special rounds can sometimes be hard to come by unless you explore the map a bit more and find those crates in order to get the ammo that you need. But other than that, you have 3 weapon slots, and you're able to pretty much swap out the weapons, pick the best weapon that's suited for a situation. And normally what I do is I have a weapon, I try to keep a weapon class of each type, a variety, so I can switch from for whatever situation. Try to keep a sniper rifle, try to keep a shotgun, a rocket launcher, and all that of a sort. And then what happens is with these weapons, you also can, what I also like too is you can select the weapons, and then you can choose whether or not you can, if you want to junk the weapons. So I normally typically junk the weapons that's pretty much below me now and not really effective. And when you junk them, you can turn them into resources that you can use much later for crafting and whatever other material that you need for research within the game. So that's also a cool thing. Now, each weapon also have a thing called a module. A module is pretty much add-ons that you can add on to the weapon to pretty much increase its fire, increases better recoil, defense, better attack speed. It's all kinds of different varieties with these modules. And then also within the modules, you can upgrade the modules to be much more stronger. Now you have a capacity. You have a certain capacity to hold a certain amount of modules, because each module has capacity points and everything. So you also have to keep that in mind. But the thing is, as you level up these modules, the capacity points will go up, but your overall capacity doesn't increase unless you complete certain missions, events, or fulfill certain criteria in order to increase that. So this is where it gets into the area of what everybody is afraid of when it comes to free-to-play games, because I think I'm already can see where this could potentially go, and it could be a bad thing. But the developers did say that they really want to focus on just having most of the money be put into cosmetics. But we will have to wait and see, because from what I've seen so far, when it comes to how they can probably nickel and dime you in this game, is the fact is that when it comes to trying to, I guess you would say, unlock Descendants, when you have to unlock Descendants, what happens is One, give you a perfect example, Bunny is one of the first characters that you can be able to unlock, which you have to fulfill certain requirements. You have to fulfill and complete certain missions. Once you get the materials, you will have to go back to Albion and go to the NPC that pretty much allows you to craft the Descendant that you pretty much fulfill as far as the criteria is concerned. Once that happens, you pretty much have a timer or a duration of time where you have to wait until the research is done. And I believe Bunny takes like 12 hours. Now, if you have the money or if you have the resources, you can use that resource in order to pretty much purchase them right away without you having to wait that time. Now, I didn't know that at first. I literally had to wait 12 hours. And the 12 hours wasn't that long because I ended up turning the game off, and I did other things, do some content creation and stuff. By the time I looked up, Bunny was done. But I see where they can get you when it comes to this money is because when it comes to, not only Descendants, you have to research special weapons, other modules, and these modules are going to have research duration time periods, which you will have to wait. And I can see this as a way for it to pretty much force people or discourage people from waiting and to actually use real money, where there's like 4 different currencies here. Now, when it comes to the Descendants themselves to unlock, there's certain items that you can collect, but if you have the currency, you can actually bypass all that by spending money on those particular items and then using that to be able to craft those items, and then you can spend the money to bypass the time and the duration to get that Descendant. So I can already see where this can probably be a turnoff to some people. Now, to remind you, this is just the open beta, so we don't know how far this will go, but there's many people, including my brother there, who already unlocked 4 Descendants without them spending any money at all. So it is possible, but we don't know until the actual game releases to see how ridiculous it could possibly go. And this can be the thing that can actually make or break the overall experience of this game. We just want to just wait and see how that works. Now, on top of that, you have these, I guess you would say, type of raid type missions where you fight these colossal enemies, where you're actually teleported to an instance zone where you be able to tackle these enemies. Now, these enemies have different weak points that you can tackle to take more damage from the enemies and then rip off their weaknesses and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot that's involved with this, and having the party and the right party, and that requires a lot of communication because they actually throw out spawns that you have to fight, ads and stuff like that you have to kill in order to pretty much get back into the fight against these colossal enemies. And I found the colossal enemies pretty, I would say some of them were pretty fun, but the overall experience when it comes to that, I really enjoyed myself when playing that aspect, and actually made a couple of friends along the way while I'm actually playing it. I thought it was actually kind of fun. The character select screen, man, there's a bunch of different characters that I have yet to unlock. A whole bunch of them. Specifically, Freyna and Volby. Volby is who I really wanted the most, because you always see, every time I talk about this game, I always show that one frame of her, and that's the character I really wanted to unlock besides Freyna. And I never had the opportunity to actually unlock the other 2 characters because of all the time that I had to spend in between playing the open beta and actually getting content creation done. So I didn't really have the time to actually get a chance to play them. So hopefully when the game actually does launch, I actually have the time to actually unlock those 2 characters. But those are the 2 characters that I really wanted to unlock outside of playing Viessa, the 3 waifus of mine. But other than that, as far as how the game feels, I had a good time with it. I enjoyed myself. Yes, there are some issues that I have as far as the zones are concerned. As far as the zones are concerned, the thing that really, like, when it comes to the environments, there is very empty. There's no wildlife in the zones. There's no enemies to encounter, and the only time enemies appear is until you actually click the mission nodes. Once you click the mission nodes and you go to the location, that's when the enemies appear. Other than that, you're pretty much walking around an empty Vesta. There's no nothing to interact with. There's nothing, no sites to really sit down and just take in, especially with how beautiful the game is. There's really nothing there. And then there's, you know, some areas are very, very quiet. So I wish and hope that there's something they can pretty much do about that, to give you something to do outside of just clicking mission nodes to interact with the levels. That's something that I have an issue with. And as I said before, I believe when it comes to the microtransactions, that's something that will make or break this game. And I can definitely see where this game can get pretty hefty in that department, especially if when it comes to researching and having to wait for, you know, a certain duration of time in order to have access to the things that you're researching. So we just want to wait and see, especially with the upgrades with the modules. And they, like I said before, they said they really want to invest in just the cosmetic aspect of it, but we will have to wait and see, because who knows. We know, like Nexon, from what everybody says, they have a track record of nickel and diming you. So we want to wait and see if these guys, you know, turned over a new leaf when it comes to this game, the first Descendant. And then last but not least, you have this thing called Mastery, where you pretty much you get this mastery level for your character, and you have to go to, I guess you say, the mastery hand, where it pretty much unlocks other features within your character. You get them special passive abilities and more buffs for your character as well. And I like the cinematic for it too. It looks pretty badass when it comes to that aspect as well. But that's pretty much my overall thoughts. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed every last aspect of the game. I had a chance to play with a couple of people online in the playing the missions and the multiplayer aspect. Xbox Series X version, especially with the controller, feel really good on the hands. Aesthetically, it looks pleasing. But yes, I think that with this game, I think they're playing it safe by, you know, borrowing and taking inspiration from all of the other looter shooters that's out there. And hopefully that as the game progresses, when the game launches, hopefully they'll figure out an identity and have an identity of its own that really stands out, and say, hey, this is the first Descendant. This is only found in first Descendant. And hopefully that would pretty much inspire other future looter shooters to probably take inspiration from that game. But overall, I enjoyed it. I know there's a lot out there that's mixed with it, because they play a lot of looter shooters, so there's things that they expect and would like to have in a looter shooter. But for me, overall, it was easy for me to just jump in, start it up, play it, and just pretty much have a good time with it, especially on stream with you guys. So I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the first Descendant? First Descendant open beta. Did you enjoy it? What improvements do you think the game needs before it launches? Do you think it needs to sit in the oven a bit more? Do you think before they actually release it? I think we can expect it next year in 2024. Do you think 2024 release is the right time, or do you think you need to wait a little bit later until they actually get it right? And do you think that it has a chance to actually stick around? Because a lot of these free-to-play as a service games, a lot of them don't last long. But do you think that Nexon has turned over a new leaf and actually is going to treat this game with respect in the near future? So if you like the video, hit the like button. Definitely helps me out in the algorithm. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.